Yo, this is Bench Gamer here. So something that I've been seeing said repeatedly and multiple times since the start of Natlan's story is that Natlan is really too straightforward, that it's too simple, that there's not as much mystery as previous regions in Natlan compared to maybe say Fontaine and Sumeru. And you can see that here in this tweet. I'm not saying this person in particular, but this is kind of indicative of a lot of the criticisms of Natlan's story, which is that it doesn't have as much mystery, it doesn't have as much that mysterious vibe as previous regions, for example, Fontaine or Sumeru, and even Inazuma, right? Because we were all trying to find out whether or not Inazuma was like, what the hell was going on with the Raiden Shogun. And I agree. I think that Natlan actually does have less mystery compared to previous regions. So let me just read this tweet. So this person, Aoi Ariachan says, I think this and the replies here nailed it perfectly. The problem with Natlan is that everything is too straightforward. There's not a whole lot of room for speculation and plot drama and character analysis, not when compared to Fontaine and Sumeru, Evis especially stretched on 4 patches. The Abyss as an enemy and source of conflict was awesome in 5.1 during the war, but that was it. It isn't enough to sustain 4 whole patches. There's just not, oh my god, my camera is fucking up again. Okay, there's just not enough fire in Natlan's Arc Conquest. The irony. And to be honest, again, I agree. I think that Natlan's story is much more straightforward. It's much more played by the nose. It's much more played by the book, as it is. There's powered friendship. There's the war against the Abyss, and that's basically it in terms of the main story arc of Natlan. But here is the thing that I want to remind everybody of when it comes to the story of Genshin Impact. We are in the endgame of Natlan's of Teyvat's story. Maybe not Genshin Impact story as a whole, but the Teyvat story is coming to an end. We're not in the early stages of the story of Teyvat anymore. We're not in Mondstadt. We're not in Inazuma. We're not even Fontaine anymore. We only have theoretically, one more region left to Teyvat. The story has to wrap up. At least the Teyvat arc of the story has to wrap up within the next 1 to 2 regions, okay? Maybe that's Celestia. Maybe we're going to Celestia. Maybe we're going to Conria. Maybe we're going to, some other place before Snezhnaya. Maybe there's going to be 2 more regions left, 2 main regions left to the entire story of Teyvat. We can't just keep on doing this mystery shit anymore. We are actually getting to the meat of the story at this point. If you see here, I think these 2 tweets are actually like very interconnected as to why the story is becoming much more straightforward in Genshin Impact. And it's literally just because we have to actually tell the story and tell people what the hell is going on in Teyvat anymore. We can't really go around just making up mysteries left and right. We have to know what's going on in the Abyss at this point. We have to know what's going on in Celestia. So that when we get to Snezhnaya, we're not going to get lore dumped with a whole bunch of like nonsense. And the Cryo Archon literally just throws a bunch of nonsense at us at the end of the story. Be like, oh, Traveler, you go search for your sister or brother or whoever in Conria, and we're not going to reveal anything to you. Descenders, what the fuck is that? Nobody cares. Anyways, here's my sad backstory about how I was suffering for the last 500 years, executing a grand plan to destroy Celestia, but at the end, we never even get to see Celestia. We're not going to get that. I think we literally are at the end game of Genshin Impact. That was basically the gist of my video a year back, and 2 years back, in fact, almost 2 years back, when I said that Honkai is Genshin's endgame because of the reveal of Skirk. Now, I don't literally mean that definitively that Honkai Impact is going to be the future of Genshin Impact, but I definitely think that now that we are getting to the end of Teyvat's story, we literally have to reveal things about how the world of Teyvat, and not just the world of Teyvat, but the world of that Teyvat exists in actually works. And you can't just not only can you not have all of these mysteries being introduced one after another anymore, you can't also have these like intricate character backstories be the main focus of the story anymore. I really loved Fontaine's story in terms of how it developed Furina as a character. It almost felt like an extended character quest to me. That was the strength of Fontaine's arc. Even though there were parts of it that dragged, the parts of it that really hit me were the parts that focused on Furina as a character, because I loved Furina as a character. But I don't love Fontaine's story when it comes to developing Teyvat's story. In terms of getting getting to the gist of the main meat of the story and how like Teyvat was developing. Natlan is actually getting to that point now. We are getting to that point, and I think I might have been doing a bit of disservice to Fontaine's story, because at the end of it, it did introduce the throne, it did destroy the throne of the Hydro Archon, it did introduce Celestia as an enemy. as it's stated here in this tweet. Windflower Leah says, I think Natlan narratively sets the stage for Genshin Impact, Genshin Endgame. It reinforces the Abyss bad guys narrative on a larger scale before the Heavenly Principles wake up. Meanwhile, Fontaine set up Genshin Endgame by showcasing why the Heavenly Principles are bad. And when we get to Snezhnaya, the final piece of the puzzle is going to be the Teresa going both sides suck, actually. Now, I don't know if the story is actually going to go that way. It might. I think there's a good chance that will. But what I'm getting at is that even though Fontaine did start to introduce the endgame, we literally are in the endgame of Genshin Impact now. I don't feel like we need all this mystery anymore. I don't feel like we need another arc where there's like two archons and one of them was actually doing this whole you sad emo girl. I was suffering for the last 500 years, executing a grand plan set before me by the previous archon so that we, save the world 500 years later. It did kind of happen in Natlan, but I feel like the role of Shibalanki is much less pronounced, especially the fact that he's not actually a twin of Malvika. I think that was a pitfall of Genshin Impact storytelling that I was very happy to see not appear in Natlan. Even though it did make Mavuika, I think for a lot of people, Mavuika is just not as interesting a character as Furina, and then that's okay. For me, Genshin Impact story has to be a much more visceral experience now. It has to be a much more on the nose, played by the book, straight to the point story. Because Genshin Impact story cannot just be mysteries after mysteries after mysteries after mysteries over and over again. Fontaine did a good job of revealing some of the mystery, and now we're actually getting to the point where we're talking to like shades. We're getting to talk to like the minions of the shades, the Lord of the Night Kingdom. These are things that have been set up in Genshin Impact since like Inazuma. We're actually getting to that point now. And of course, once we actually get to that point, the mysteries will be revealed. So there's literally going to be less mysteries. Will they set up more stuff in the future of Genshin Impact to like keep it going? Yes. But I am very glad to see that there are less mysteries in Natlan. We're actually going to fight the Abyss. We're going to see what the Abyss is going to be like and why they're all fucked up and trying to destroy Teyvat. That is much more interesting to me at this point than setting up like another Archon that is frankly like going to be the centerpiece of the whole story. And then we're going to find out why they were actually like being set up by the previous Archon. I'm just over that story at this point. It's not that I don't like Furina. She's still my favorite Archon of all time. But again, Fontaine's story just felt like an extended story quest for me, for a character, for a single, maybe like 3 characters, Navia, Neuvillette, and I think Furina were the main centerpieces of Fontaine. With Natlan, it feels like the characters are taking a backseat. Even though I'm not saying that they're bad characters, but it feels like they are taking a backseat to the grand plot of Teyvat at this point. And I think that's a good thing. I think we're actually going to solve Teyvat as a mystery, right? The mystery of Teyvat is getting to the point where it's no longer a mystery. If that's a bad thing for you, so be it, I guess. But like, I'm having a really hard time coming to terms with the fact that some people actually think that Natlan having less mysteries is a bad thing, because a story is not just a mystery. If a mystery it goes unsolved for the entire duration of the story, then like, what's the point of the story? Do you just want Teyvat to be a mystery forever? Maybe that is the case. Now that I think about it, a lot of people seem to like Genshin Impact when it's just like introducing mystery after mystery after mystery, as bad as it sounds. Anyways, this is Ben Streamer signing out, and I'll see you guys later. Bye.